if you're doing anything of any worth, as many people hate you as love you. But the ones that hate you, they shouldn't affect you. The ones that love you, they buy your house. You know what I mean? They're the... So I'd like to thank them. And we've had a few weird years of cancel culture, people telling you what you can and can't laugh at or talk about, but we pushed back and we won. Until the next time.
Was this the weekend that celebrity wokery finally died? I'm going to show you the massive pushback being faced by Jade, a member of the group Little Mix, for going on stage and getting thousands of people to chant F you to JK Rowling for simply standing up for women's rights, and the complete ludicrous a response to Greta Thunberg's little voyage to Gaza with a whole load of fellow queers who will probably get thrown off buildings if they actually do truly try to live in Palestine. But the person who has burst their bubble is, I think, the guy who hopefully will claim back sanity in Hollywood. This weekend, the brilliant Ricky Gervais, a comedian who has always prized free speech above anything else, who has always fought against wokery, and who has always been prepared to deliver some home truths to those privileged Hollywood losers, was awarded his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. His ceremony was attended by some of the most powerful people in Hollywood, including Ted Sarandos, the boss of Netflix. And on stage, Ricky Gervais made it clear that he thinks a sea change is coming. Now, we're going to analyse this in just one moment with Eric Kaufman, Professor of Politics at the University of Buckingham, who is also a director of a new centre for non-woke social research. So he's all across this subject. But first, let's listen to these incredibly wise words from Ricky Gervais.
For a minute, thank you so much for this honour. It's a genuine thrill to be part of such an exclusive club. And just looking around earlier at all the other stars, absolute icons, you know. Michael Jackson, Bill Cosby, Fatty Arbuckle. Thank you to the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce for this. Genuinely, it's extraordinary honour. I am humbled, and to have my name etched on this legendary Walk of Fame, a place that celebrates the dreamers and doers of the industry. I'd love to claim that it was due to my unrivaled genius, but truth be told, it's a cocktail of luck, persistence, and a little bit of pushing against the tide. Do you know what I mean? You know, you've got to polarize, I think. You need to know that if you're doing anything of any worth, as many people hate you as love you. But the ones that hate you, they shouldn't affect you. The ones that love you, they buy your house. You know what I mean? They're the... So I'd like to thank them. And we've had a few weird years of cancel culture, people telling you what you can and can't laugh at or talk about, but we pushed back and we won. Until the next time.
And there will be a next time. I mean, look, Eric Kaufman, firstly, I couldn't love Ricky Gervais anymore, right? I actually think he has been, alongside JK Rowling, probably the most important pop culture figure of a generation, because he is way too powerful to cancel, and he is almost single-handedly claiming back the rights of comedians, which has been so important. But what do you make of what he said there, that actually, for the moment, we've won? Do you really believe that? Do you really feel like the anti-woke free speech crowd has won in Hollywood? Because I could show a whole load of examples that prove that's not true.
I think it's more of a battle. I think in the US, the battle is going better because the political winds are more favorable, and it's right in the crosshairs of the administration. And there's a lot of state level activity too. But I think in Britain, in Canada, where I'm from originally, there isn't anywhere near the level of success that we see in the US. I'm hopeful it'll come. It's interesting you raise this because we have, of course, on Wednesday, Gad Saad and Matt Goodwin and Batya and Garsargon are going to be debating this question of the end of woke here in London. So, and this is something I'm very excited to host. I think there are currents moving in different directions. Yes, we see the number of people canceled is down. The number of times the New York Times and major newspapers use terms like white supremacy and racism is down. DEI in the US has been rolled back. Universities in the US, again, are declaring themselves politically neutral instead of, spouting the latest progressive slogan. But that's in a climate where the political right has really taken steps to essentially beat back this ideology. In Britain and in Canada and Australia and other places, it's much less advanced, and therefore woke has a lot more yardage to run. The other thing I would say is that there are other indicators. For example, if you look at progressive spaces, whether that be Blue Sky, whether that be the Democratic National Committee, they're doubling down. In the universities, they're trying to rebrand DEI as, the Office of Community Belonging and something a bit more anonymous, which is still progress, but it shows there's a lot of resistance still amongst the true believers. So I don't think the true believers have changed, but I do think some of the influential senior liberal elites, the newspaper editors, university presidents, corporate leaders, like Zuckerberg and Musk and Bezos and these people, they have changed. And I think that's very important, but I don't think this war is over. And again, people said political correctness was done in 1991. And actually it roared back with a passion in the 2010s. Now, I think it is the 2010s Great Awakening was a bit different because this really went off campus into the newspapers, into social media in a much bigger way than it did in the late 80s, early 90s, which I can still remember. And so I think they've exposed their cards and staked a lot more in the Great Awakening. And the backlash against that has actually started deciding elections. I think the stakes are just much higher, and I'm not sure that it's going to be possible for woke to sort of present itself as new, even 20 years from now. I just think this is such a part now of the culture. The antidote is building. And so I guess I think, I don't think woke will be as dominant. Let's put it that way.
God, I hope you're right. God, I hope you're right, because there are still some horrible examples, right? And I wanted to show you one over the weekend, which I found really, truly upsetting, right? So there is what would have previously been described as a big gay festival in London, but it's now uses this awful term LGBTQI, all of that weird stuff. And Jade Thirlwell, who was a member of the girl group Little Mix, went up on stage. Now, I've always thought she's a very nice person, but she's very much to the hard left of politics. She went up on stage and led a foul-mouthed chant against a whole load of people, but including JK Rowling. And I just sort of feel like you're a female pop star. JK Rowling is standing up for women, and you're doing this to her. And shame on all of the crowd that just cheered along. Watch this. But first, if you're anything like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I've noticed that's a massive oversight because, of course, the neck is on display all the time, yet so many folk treat it as an afterthought in their routine. Now, so many women and our Outspoken audience will know that the skin on your neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin. But what that means is it requires specialised care. I have to say, I was totally blown away by this brilliant product, Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. Absolutely beautiful product, transforming the necks of women and some men. I can say some men too, me included, all across the globe. It is such a gorgeous product, and I saw a noticeable difference actually within weeks, and I know it can become a game changer for you too. check this out as well. Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off GoPure using the code Dan at checkout. Just head to gopurebeauty.com/Dan. Use the code Dan, that's DAN, and you're all set. Now, GoPure's proprietary firming complex designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 2 months. And in a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin actually looked more supple. 97% noticed a firmer appearance, which is obviously incredible. It's also dermatologist recommended and cruelty-free, which I know is very, very important for many other animal lovers out there. Plus, with over 1 million jars sold, I think we can say that this beauty secret is no longer really a secret anymore. So tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. Let me remind you of this incredible deal for Outspoken viewers and listeners today. 25% off GoPure using the code Dan at checkout. So just head to gopurebeauty.com/Dan. Use the code DAN, Dan, and you're all set. And after you buy, do us a favor. When they ask you where you heard about GoPure, tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
JK Rowling.
And Eric, the thing that shocks me is it's like they think they're the ones who are on the right side of history, right? Like they think they're the kind ones. They really do believe that.
But yes, and that is depressing. And in their spaces, they're all true believers. But if we look at public opinion of the under 25s on, for example, single-sex washrooms, should there be male and female washrooms, or should they all be unisex, which is the trans position? In Britain, for example, only 20% of young people supported separate male and female washrooms only in 2022. That's gone up to 50%, 30 points increase in the number of young people who say, no, we want separate male and female washrooms, not just these unisex washrooms. They've turned against, natal males and women's sports. Again, so despite that picture, in the greater scheme of public opinion, they're losing. And that's my only point. I'm not saying that every space is going to be claimed by sanity, but I think for every one of those pictures, you have, again, politicians dropping pronouns from their bios.
Yeah, so exactly. So, and I guess pop stars are maybe sometimes the last to feel the force of this because they don't need to. I've got to ask you about Greta Thunberg too. Link Lauren posted this week.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, I've got to. It's funny. We can view this as funny because I quite like Link Lauren's take on it. He said this little lesbian just hitches herself to every social movement for clout. It's almost like performance art. And I was sort of thinking maybe it is because I'll show you. Firstly, she's at this pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas protest. Then she's actually got on a yacht. She's heading to Palestine with a whole load of fellow queers for Palestine type folk who, as I've said, would be thrown off the roofs and killed if they brought their sexuality to most Hamas-run areas. Look at this.
Show me what the people looks like. Show me what power looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what the people look like.
And then she's on a little yacht.
I am currently standing on the Madeleine, the ship that on Sunday, June 1st, will attempt to again sail towards Gaza and to try to break the siege and open up a humanitarian corridor by delivering aid like food and medical supplies. The last time we attempted this, about a month ago, the boat Conscience that we were about to board, just a couple of hours before we were planning to board and set sail, it got bombed twice. And all evidence suggests that it was Israel who did it.
Oh my God.
So now we are here in Catania, outside of Sicily, to try to continue our mission to try again. Because currently we are watching a systematic starvation of 2 million people, a live stream genocide, and the world's silence is deadly. That is why we have to keep trying everything we can, even if the odds are against us, to try to protest and do everything we can to stand against Israel's atrocities and war crimes, and to support and stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine. So keep your eyes on deck, continue flooding the streets, organize, boycott, and do everything in your power to stand for Palestine.
So, Eric, what is this link between woke celebrities who used to be all about climate change and now support Palestine? Where's the link there? How's this happened?
Well, the link is, first of all, these are important symbols for the contemporary left, right? But essentially, there's a core there, and the environment thing is only partially involved, which is around oppressed groups, and there's oppressor oppressed. So this view of, you have white settlers and the colonized indigenous population. So this idea of settler colonialism is very important for wokery, because remember what wokery is: it's the making sacred of historically marginalized race, gender, sexual identity groups. The sacred group is the colonized, and the demon is the settler. Now, in the US, this comes from the US, where the whites would be the settlers and you would have indigenous people as the colonized. Taking that, transposing it to Israel, Palestine becomes, the Jews as the settlers and the Palestinians as the oppressed indigenous. That's the paradigm. The race paradigm, again, race is sacred. If these two groups looked identical, there would be no interest from Thunberg or the left. But the fact that one is somewhat darker than the other, although even that is not always the case, is enough to make this a cause célèbre. Now, you have this sort of what's called intersectional approach, where if you're worried about trans, you've got to be worried about race, which means you've got to be worried about Palestine. You can't just do one, you've got to do them all. The environment thing's a little bit outside my definition of woke, except insofar as the argument is climate change harms people in the developing world who are not white, and it's harm. The people doing the harm are the white people. So that is the way in which the environment issue becomes racialized and therefore becomes woke. In and of itself, if you were just in favor of, solar energy or nuclear power, that in itself isn't woke. But once you bring in this climate justice perspective, it then becomes woke. I think that's the way to understand this. It's the oppressor oppressed, people of color thing, whites against people of color, settler colonial. That's how we understand this.
Yeah, indeed. Oh my God, I just had to show you this headline that Leo Kurz found over the weekend. I actually couldn't believe it was true. I think it is true. He said, ultimate left-wing media headline, and it's in The Independent, how climate change is hitting vulnerable Indonesian trans sex workers. Nearly 93% of respondents saw decreased income during the rainy season. I thought, yep, okay, we've still got a woke media out there. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.